Deze is hartstikke awesome Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. What's up, guys? This is going to be an exciting episode. And yes, we are on Mondays now, and we got even more awesome news and more things that we're going to bring to you. So, as always, we are sponsored by the Virtual Fight Tour, and it was great seeing Jesse, Ray, and the Next Level crew, and they're getting excited and geared up for August 26th for the Battle of the Dojos. It's going to be a great event. I saw several of the instructors and coaches this weekend at Capital Classics, which is our main focus for today's show. And man, I hope you guys are ready for a great show at Virtual Fight Tour, but also for tonight. So, what's up, Will? What's up, Miss Jones? How are you guys doing? Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting. It's going to be a big show.
What a way to start the week.
Huh?
I said, what a way to start the week.
Exactly. And you know what? It's fresh on my mind because I was there at Capital Classics. And fresh on everyone's mind as people were anticipating this event, especially point fighting guys were anticipating, as this was the debut of all the new pickups from John Paul Mitchell, and also, like what everyone else does in response to that, right? We've seen leading up to this weekend, this lit a fire under Joe Greenhall. Joe Greenhall loves rivalries, and he loves beating JPM. So we saw the training camps and the things that all the straight up fighters were going to Joe's house and training and doing stuff. So it was exciting to see what was going to happen. You also had, Sam Gagnon bringing his crew from Canada down for it. So lots to talk about. One thing I want to share, just because it happened to me today, it was the funniest thing ever. And I've had my karate school for 15 years, and I've heard a lot of funny things from students, right? And if you don't know, I have my NBL belts up here, and I always get asked, why do you have any belts? What does NBL mean? And then I had my rings above it from winning Super Grands and then other tournaments that give rings and stuff. And one of my students, he's always a character. He's probably, I think he just turned 8. But he always has a joke to share me. He always has
6, 7, 8.
Yeah. And he's been with me since he was like 3. And so today, like, he's asking all these questions. He's always asking about my medals and stuff. And he goes, why do you have so many rings? Did you marry a lot of women?
My gosh, that's awesome.
And I was like, I was just laughing. And that was the best. Like, I haven't heard that one before, and I thought that was hilarious. And then his mom didn't hear it, and I told her, and she was like, "Oh my gosh!" She couldn't even breathe. She thought it was so funny. So I figured I had to share that one. So Alex was DJing probably this weekend.
Of course, man. My events this weekend range from the ridiculous to the sublime, but that's not what we're here to talk about, is it?
Yes.
We've got too much stuff to talk about, never enough time.
Oh, yeah. All right. So Capital Classics, a great venue as always. We love the Gaylord Convention Center. And, they had this set up a little different this year, which to me, in many ways, I thought it was cool. They didn't have the stages. Usually there's like 1 or 2 stages there. They didn't have any of those this year. They were just on the ground. They did have a stage over to the side because they did Sanda, which we have talked about before. Sanda is like the wushu MMA pretty much, and where they have to knock them off of the stage. So they had a big,
but I understand.
Yeah. So that sport was they had a lot of fighters over there for that. I just heard it more than anything. but it was pretty intense.
So
Overall,
about the stage though,
yeah.
did you like are you a fan of competing on the mini stage during the eliminations, or are you a
because
floor guy?
yeah, those stages usually aren't very good, right? They're not very big. They're
The risk
rickety.
outweighs the reward.
Yeah, now the stage. So let's just go to AKAs. This year, I wasn't really a fan of those stages, those small stages, right?
Yeah.
The AK Warrior Cup. The year before, the
It
stage
was a little
itself,
bit higher.
that was higher and it was also bigger and it was better. Now, was it higher and in some ways more dangerous because people falling off? Yes, but it was also way bigger and wider, and it was way sturdier and thicker to where there was no issue. So it's
True.
kind of a catch-22. It really depends if the stage is rickety and it has a lot of bumps and stuff, or if the mats that are put on the stage have holes in them. Yeah, I'm not a fan. For the most part, most of the rings were, at least in the black belt area, were 7x7.
That's
The ring that they did for demo, team sync, and Korean challenge was 9x9. So those were good. Now,
Okay.
not all of them were that way, so I can't say that all, but that has been something that Kappa has been really pushing and trying to strive for, is the bigger ring
consistency.
consistency.
And to know, right? Oh, and for form guys, like, it is very important. You need to know, like, what is your ring, because there are some performers.
It changes my form and the way I do
Absolutely.
it. Even
I mean,
my
there's guys that are like, yo, I can't do this pass now. I
Right.
can't do that. And then there's guys like, I'm just gonna say, like Jason Borelli. All right. Jason Borelli was just a performer who you'd see him do like a round out flash, like basically in place. Right. And
Mhm.
you're like, how did you even, all right. Well, because you have springs. So it's all good.
Right.
What up, Obeda?
So yeah, I mean, overall, it started, I think, around 2:00. Traditional challenge started that morning. I believe they did their first meeting for the NASCA certified officials. And I was not able to be there for that. I was driving in, and then I went straight to a private lesson, and then team meeting and stuff. So I don't know what all happened with that. I heard it was a good first step. So a good first step. We'll see what happens from there. And they did a good job.
Now let's just think about it. You weren't
They brought in. Hold on one sec. They brought in Reed Presley to kind of demonstrate some techniques and some.
Oh, that's nice.
Which is a great thing, right? So,
do they do that for any of the fighters?
I'm not sure. I'm sure
I have always thought that would be really important to do, right? Just like an example, like, and have the fighters just be like, here, this is what we're going to do. We're going to simulate this. I'm going to go all out, but you do this at this time. So like, it's essentially staged, and something would be like, I blitz, you defensive punch, and we know exactly where we're going to physically be. All right, guys, what is that? Is that a point for the blitz? Is that a clash? Is that a point this way? Because it's whatever I think. Well, it's kind of not fair. We should have like a rule, like, no, okay, like in baseball. And I don't really love baseball, but it's ironic how parallel like some of the analogies between baseball and sport karate are, right? Like in baseball, it's understood. There's no two ways about it. Like if someone steals, right, second base or whatever, right, and it's a tie, like it's already announced. It's known. The tie goes to the runner, right? But in our sport, it's kind of like, well, it's kind of whatever you think. Could you imagine the chaos that would happen in baseball if it's like just whatever that umpire thinks at that point? Like umpires already in some ways have too much power, right? Imagine that. Like it would just be too much. So I think maybe we're trending in the right direction, but I don't know. Maybe let's not do it right before the event starts. Maybe let's have it on a Zoom where it's like, here, guys, your schedules are too busy already. You have a packed weekend that you flew in, and you already have your weekend packed in with this. Let me take 2 or 3 hours that you don't have for this. Like, it's kind of not fair,
Right. So that was a good point that Priscilla made. was that the training at the tournaments will be division specific. So Cap's training was focused mostly on CMX forms of weapons.
Which
and then
is
they will
good.
focus on sparring at AmeriKick at the next tournament. So that's good to know, is that we're going to do this and then we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And that way it was good. And she said
So I want to.
she thought it was very rule specific and great. So that's good. That's a huge step.
Here's the nod that like NASCA does well is if they think like hey, we should change something, they just make the change, which in some ways I really like that. But in other ways that I don't, it's like, okay, so then that means we have part of the year where we did it one way, another part of the year where we did it one way, and then at the end of the year when it all mattered, we did it a totally different way. Right. So it's like, listen, we have enough time after the year's over. Boom. Let's focus. Let's do it then. But I don't want to like be too negative because I do appreciate that they see a need to change and then they're like, let's do it.
Right.
But it was
all right. So Friday we have open weight, all the teams.
Oh yeah.
The CMX. It was a big Friday. Okay. We had the Korean Challenge on Friday. We had a lot going on. So really, as far as turnout, I don't think it was, it's not the biggest capital classes I've seen, especially on a Friday, but divisions were very good quality of competitors. Seeing some people I hadn't seen in a long time, seeing competitors from the local area. So I think overall it was a great event. Saturday was a lot bigger than Friday, like way bigger. Even though all the CMX stuff was done on Friday. So Korean Challenge obviously needs to be run earlier, kind of like the way they did at Battle of Atlanta. That would have been way better, as well as the way they did at Ozarks. That didn't, it was planned to start at 7 p.m. It didn't really start till about 8:30. So that was kind of rough, on that. So we finished at like 10:15 on that. We won't do the last one. I'm not sure. So there was that, but there was a lot of things I just felt like this year on scheduling wise, they made some changes that didn't work this year. Maybe, if they switch some things up, it'll be better in the future, just like having all of the 18 plus. And when I mean 18 plus, I mean all the way up to 60 or 60 plus male divisions all in one ring. And that just took, forever instead of splitting it up. Right. So there were some things like that. As far as the weekend, man, it was just exciting to see the new JPM, the really focused, straight up, all the different people that were there competing, some of the juniors that were really just killing it and really trying to take this next step, after US Open. To some people, it's like after US Open, it's like, okay, now it's the second half of the season. It's time to kill it, right? And so we saw a lot of that. And they were shorter in judges. You're right. So they had to combine. I think some of that though was because of the scheduling, because there was many things like, especially on Saturday, them not running seniors early and us not really going until 10:30 or 11. When if we would have started at 8 with the seniors and did 3 rings, we probably would have been, we would have had those judges later on. One of the cool things for me was competing against Philip Baruti. Philip Baruti, he's commented on our show many times. I mean, he is from like the 85 to 95 generation, right? The last time he competed was like 1995. So we're talking about 30 years ago. And he shows up and does the Korean Challenge. Says, I want to beat Jeff. I want to beat these guys. And it was just awesome, man. It was cool to compete against someone.
You look good?
Yeah, he looks solid, man. He had a stumble, but I mean, dude, he's in his like mid 50s and he's out there kicking it. And but he's excited about it. And so it was fun. Anytime you get to compete against people you looked up to, there's nothing like that, right? So big highlights, I guess, from Friday. Man, it's hard to say. I mean, I know always, Haley Glass won all of her divisions on Friday. I think she won all of her divisions during the day. So that was a big step for her, as sometimes she hasn't this year. But she definitely killed it. And
Wait,
then
time.
what?
Andrew said he did Kwangay.
Yeah, he did Kwangay. Yeah, it was awesome.
I love that form.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Bailey Murphy did forms. That was on Saturday, so that was really cool. That's something I was gonna share. As far as with the turnout for a Korean Challenge, it was a solid turnout. Some of the divisions that were big at a battle were not big here, and then some divisions that were really small were way bigger. Like at the battle, there were only 2 people in some of the junior boys divisions. And then they had like 9 to 10 people at this tournament, right? So we the male and females solid, 8 to 9 in women's, 10 to 12 in men. So something like that. I don't remember exact numbers, but was awesome to see that. But man, I mean, the weapons, CMX weapons and forms just was fun. Again, you're seeing the 3 teammates battle it out and one up each other every time, with Dawson and Esteban and Ben. And, it's like, hey, Dawson did this. Oh, Esteban did this. So I'm going to have to add another spin. It was just wild and crazy. But then you also have, Rashad still in the mix doing sword and nunchuck, you know what I mean? And sword and comma, and, you have Will Nevitt, who was looking great all weekend. You just had a lot of great guys that were really trying. You had, Brandon Ballou coming back and doing weapons for the first time in like maybe since his first year, his rookie year, so it was just a fun event of people just really getting out there and having fun. Competitive Edge and Infinity going head to head. That's always a fun one, seeing those guys. So for me, Friday was busy, it was late night, but won the first round of the Korean Challenge, and then went head to head against Cameron Whittington and won that round. And then same thing. Let's see, where are we at? Oh, William Smart went against Julio Lugo in that round, and he moved on. So it was in the finals. It was William Smart again, him and I, and then Caitlin.
Julio's got a good form too.
Yeah, Julio did a good job. Caitlin Vaughn and Gabrielle Rudolph again. So the same 4 from battle that were on stage were on here. So yeah, it was great.
I'm loving Obeda right now. Keep going, Obeda. Keep going.
There's a lot of, forms guys that were doing that. They always are, though. So it's
all right. So here's what he said for those of us who are listening. So Obeda was asking, so what forms guys are going to gear up, because we had a few fighters that stepped into the form ring, and it's happened in the past. And he was saying like Ryan Pinkston geared up and fought the Capitals in 2002. Oh, what did he say? He says he wants to see Ben Jones fight. I bet you Ben Jones has got a mean hook round act like that.
He does. Yeah. I know he spars a lot, at the school, and when he goes to do seminars at other schools. Because I was talking to Cameron Kloss, and he said when he came and did a seminar at Billy Viola's school, he just sparred and trained the whole week with them. So, and Reed Presley, yes, was a great fighter.
Reed Presley fought. When he was in the AKA, he didn't just fight.
Caitlin Vaughn, who won the Korean Challenge again, she's a great fighter. She's been consistently fighting at every tournament for years. So there's a
hard thing with that is when you reach the top of the mountain in forms, and you've already done 6 or 7 forms.
Yeah. Right.
And then you're like, and your forms are pretty much done. Like all of your divisions are done. You're in the finals for like 3 things. Like, it's kind of like, it's not even just like, what left do I have? What else do I have to prove? Because there's something like you didn't hit anybody yet, I suppose. Right. But it's like, how much do I have left? and then I still have to go to the finals, right?
Right.
Because you
Right.
haven't actually won that.
I mean,
So there's a little bit of balance.
Rashad does it every tournament, you know. So you got to give it
He
to him
does.
for that.
Jeff fights.
Yeah, yeah, I fight
I'm
a lot
standing
of
up for
times.
you. Jeff fights.
I fight a lot. So yeah, I mean, just a busy Friday, but a great Friday. Again, seeing Gabrielle and Caitlin, knowing they were gonna, you know, move up into the Korean Challenge. What was a great matchup.
What's the
The
what's the buzz
team,
around Korean Challenge right now? Because I
everyone
wasn't there.
loves the head-to-head. Everyone loves the head-to-head, man. They really do, and they love seeing it on stage because,
Nice.
especially this time, I got really close to William this time, and we got where we were almost hitting. And I thought that was going to be the excitement of the night. Well, next, the females come on stage, and Gabrielle and Caitlin are like crossing by each other the whole freaking time. And they just both just kept going their same pace and everything. And it was really cool. So they really crushed it. It was, all of us thought that they were going to hit each other. It was pretty crazy. So, because I finished and I won the Korean Challenge against Will. We'll go ahead and do that. You know, so we're William and I, as well as Caitlin and Gabrielle, we're getting to show the rivalries that happen a lot of time in our division that no one really notices or gets to see. Because again, we haven't gotten that platform or stage to show that, right? So it's been really cool to really showcase that and to put that on stage in that setup in that way, right? So the buzz is, some of the promoters don't want to do the head-to-head because or the different rounds because they think that it takes up more time. Now, if you look at this weekend, it took time, but that was because we ran it in one ring when it was supposed to be in three. We had enough judges to run 3 rings or 2 rings, and it was ran later. So that wasn't definitely like the main reason. If they want to go to where they want it to be faster, I would say just do every round head-to-head. But, you know, that's the way they did it at AAU. But overall, I think most tournaments want to see that in their finals because it's exciting, right? So I won this one again, and Caitlin won against Gabrielle again. So I think most people are excited to see it. So, and they really enjoy the head-to-head. As far as everything else, dude, open weight was fire, a great turnout. You know, you have Next Level bringing their crew out. You have straight up, you have JPM. You know, people were ready to see Cam versus Bailey, right? Got to see that. We saw it, right? We got to see. I mean, really, what's crazy is that like the first 2 rounds of open weight were like people that could have been in the finals. I think it was Tyson and Bailey, right? And then Kevin and Cam. So it was like, wow, okay. But it ended up being, did you get to see any of that?
Pieces. I didn't see those fights, but I did see pieces of the open weight division.
Awesome.
So
all right, another return. Lily Rouillard is back. Man, it was exciting to see her come back, and for her again, we got to see her in the finals, and we actually, I'm going to do this now because we're going to talk a little bit about the female fighting and everything, but we are starting a special episode once a month, the 2nd August, actually, sorry, the 2nd Wednesday of every month. We're going to bring back Peyton Fender, and she's going to have Peyton's Extra Scoop with us on Wednesday. Sometimes it'll be me and her. Sometimes it'll be Alex and her. Sometimes it'll be all 3 of us. But talking about that female side and that female perspective of fighting and forms. And this week we're going to be doing that 9:30 Wednesday night. So check us out, as that's going to be something coming every month. to you guys. So she's super excited about it. So she's going to be breaking down her perspective as a competitor and what it was like in that open weight division, in that team fighting division. What is the vibe around all the females with Katana and Katarina together as a team, right? So, yes, and she's amazing on the mic. So this is going to be great. It's going to be a fun time. What do you got to say, Alex? No, I just throwing a bunch of there. Sorry.
There's a lot going on. Yeah, I know. I'm excited for Peyton. Peyton was a good show. If you guys didn't already, if you haven't listened to or watched the show that we had with Peyton Fender before, it was a really fun show. We have a lot of fun shows, but just go back, check them out, go in the archives. So as you were talking about all the forms on Friday night, who would you say was like the winner of Friday night? Who had the performance of all performances on Friday night?
So when I looked at Friday, and from what I was
like, this person, they were just when I go back to my hotel room, that's the only performance I'm thinking of.
Right. To me, I felt like Friday, Dawson won Friday. Dawson Holt won Friday. But Ben made sure that he was like right there. Right. And, and so it was really interesting, on the form side, Esteban has been winning Fridays, he's just been doing it. Right. But Will kill the creative division. So, to me, it was in weapons. I felt like, because Dawson, I think, won 2, and then Esteban won 1, and Ben won 1. So really interesting just how that was. But those guys would go, and as soon as you thought that one would up the other one, then, that's the best form we're going to see. Oh, something else happened. All right, what we got going on here?
Hendra brings up a good point.
Yeah.
So he says that the bracketing for the women's open weight, there was 5 Canadian women, and 4 of them were on one side. And I don't know like the programming and how they do it. I thought that it was supposed to separate. I think that might only be for like the first or second round. So I don't know.
Well, here's the problem is, right. Okay. Everyone's wanted everything split, right? So you got to figure out which one is going to override which one. Lately, because of NASCA is more for teams, it's been focused more on let's not have our team, let's have our teams on the other side of the brackets, right? So in NBL, it was the opposite. It was always country, state. That was really the main thing. So country was divided first. Then you would even try to make sure that if someone was in the same state, they weren't against each other on the same round. I mean, on the first round. And that was the main thing. And of course, actually, sorry, it was school, country, state was the way it was, right? And so with NASCA, the focus has changed to teams being like school, so teams. I don't know if it's country, state, but it should be, right?
All of it, I think country's the last. It's the last priority.
And it should be right after team, or school. I mean, I guess really in this way, school and team are kind of considered the same thing in a lot of ways, right? Nowadays.
Just letting us know that the first round gets split for all of that, but not the second, which is kind of what I thought was the case.
Right. But they are trying to do where they're putting people on from teams on opposite sides of the brackets now. They're really,
which is good.
Yeah.
And there are some events that like hand select them and like purposefully pick them and push them, like spread them out. Like I know the Irish Open is, notorious for that, where like it's not random, right? There's the first, some of it's random, but a fair amount of it's not. Like if you're notable, that's not random. They put you where they want you. They spread you out. But I think like US Open does that. Like when they're team fighting, like none of that shit's random. It's JPM's on one side of the bracket and they put everybody else on the other, and they've got 3 buys.
Oh man. Anyways,
First round match is against Tiger Snake Dojo.
can you stop? All right.
Obviously, it's a joke, guys. Calm down. All right,
We're not
but,
allowed to
you know,
joke.
apparently
All right,
not.
let's go into. All right, there's so many ways to do it. So let's go with rivalries brewing. So obviously, the rivalry that we're getting with the men's is Straight Up versus JPM, right? Which has been one for years, right? But I feel like now it's renewed. With especially, social
How we
media
got
wise, the tagline.
people to have a rivalry.
Yeah.
With.
The tagline was JPM Takeover, right? And so at the end of the weekend, the tagline that all the Straight Up people were doing was Straight Up Takeover. So this was a fun rivalry back and forth. The Straight Up guys building as a team, and they have that brotherhood that they've been building for a long time, and then adding some new people over the past year or two, right? The thing is, we could say, oh, JPM, they have a whole new team, so they don't have that. That's not necessarily true, because they brought 3 people from one team, right? That already had that group, and then also Katana, and now building that with Alex, right? So it's and also Cam already had that relationship with Damon and those guys, right? And Jackson and those guys. So I don't think, it's really cool to see the brotherhood between these two teams right now, and the way they're handling it. They're going out there.
So the reason why I would think like it's not something you have to wait to build up, like Cam Dawson's one of the best fighters in the world now and has been for a handful of years, right?
Yep.
So we're not waiting for any kind of development. What are we waiting to develop? This is an individual sport that we do within teams, right? It's still an individual sport. When you go out to fight, there's not someone else fighting in that ring with you alongside you. There's people fighting behind you, before and after you, but when you're fighting, it's just you and one other guy. So it is an individual sport. And so these individuals are ready to win right now, right? So it's interesting when you make the comparison JPM to Straight Up. So if you want to go with like who's the best on each side, we got to see that matchup. We got to see Bailey and Cam. And I don't think anybody would like say that that's like a down to anybody else on those teams. It's pretty understood. Bailey's the best fighter on that team and Cam is the best fighter on that team, right? So, but then when you go down the line, right? Brandon, Kevin, Ben Clark, right? Damn good fighters, right?
Yeah.
Darren Payne, Devin Hopper, they're ready to go. Alex Mencius, they're ready to go now too. But when you look at them side by side, you look at them back and forth. I don't know. I could see it one way. I could see it the other way. I mean, it all depends on the day. I think it really depends. And this is why there's a lot of pressure on the leaders. If they're matching up and Cam Dawson beats Bailey Murphy, looks a whole lot more winnable now for JPM, right?
Right.
It's just one match though, right? But when it goes the other way, it's amazing how emotional this sport is, right? In this sport is the fighting, absolutely so emotional, right? And the real key to success with this is to try to look at this in terms of math, right? Because math, that's not emotional. Math don't care about your feelings either. Math hates you too, right? So, but we're emotional creatures. We do this because we love this. We do this because it's fun. If you did this and you thought of it like math, well, then you wouldn't do this because this is boring, right? But ironically, I actually kind of like math. But I like these two matchups, man. I mean, if you look at it, right, look at that long, lanky Darren Payne self.
Well,
that up at the Kevin Walker. I don't know. I think Kevin could be a better kicker than him.
Oh,
you never know on the day.
Well, and it's a lot. And we also have Alex as well, who continues to get better and better time.
And then you
I mean, we're
put
talking
Brandon Balu right up against him. You gonna tell me like these are coin flip matches?
Oh,
Right?
and it is. And so I think that's what's going to be interesting because I think JPM has many different ways to kind of play the matchups, right? I don't know if they chose the best one. Maybe they did. We will see over this next few months and the rest of this year how it works. But one of the things is that I didn't see Bailey and Devin. I don't know if that happened this weekend, but I saw every other matchup of Bailey fighting every single member of JPM.
Right.
For the last man standing, it was Devin versus Bailey. In open weight, it was Bailey versus Cam. You know, they fought during that time, right? For the end of open weight, it was Alex, Macias, and Bailey. For teams, it was Bailey versus Cam. And Bailey is
He proved he was
Bailey.
that dude.
He's being that fighter that he wants to be, that he talked about when he was on our show, wants to be the greatest of all time. And what was even cool, again, we all got to see him for doing Korean forms in the Korean division. And poor guy, first time he's done forms in years, and he has the most eyeballs of anybody. All the cameras are out filming Bailey. But
Yeah.
he was just having fun, you know. The best comment
when you're one of the best figures
everyone's excited
in sport karate, people are gonna start looking at you that way.
Yeah.
They're gonna have the phones out. I would have my phone out. Not gonna lie.
Right. So I mean, it was just exciting, you know, to see that. The funniest thing was he was talking before. He was like, "Man, I'm just nervous because I don't remember the last time I ki'd in forever." So that was just hilarious to hear, right? It's like kind of nervous to ki. I don't remember the last time I ki'd. But so the rivalries of that were brewing. The rivalries right now and forums are really going. You know, you have the friendly like team three guys going at each other rivalry with Esteban and Ben and Dawson, and then you also have, you know, what's brewing in the honestly in the Korean side and also in the traditional side for women with Caitlin and Gabrielle, and then you know Gabrielle and Amber. Amber wasn't there this weekend, so we didn't get to see that. In the Japanese side, you have Joey Castro and DG, you know, going back and forth. One wins Trud Challenge, the other one's Japanese. You know, and in Korean, it's me and William Smart. You know, this time William beat me in the division.
Glad you said
William
that.
beat me in the division this time, right? And then I got him back and beat him on stage for the Korean Challenge. So I feel like there's so many things that are brewing, and we just need to highlight them. And that's why we have shows like this for us to do that, right? And of course, in the juniors, there's a lot as well. We can't talk about it all, but yeah. All right, let's go to Saturday and some things. You know, as far as the grands and everything, we already talked about. We talked about straight up takeover. Bailey, congrats to you, man. You know, winning all three. It's not the first time you have, but again, you're showing out and you're killing it. Great job to the rest of your teammates. Brandon, Kevin, Ben, Nick Kane, all those guys had a great weekend. The females out there fighting their butts off. So awesome job on that. You know, for me, there was a lot of awesome junior performances. What's cool about this tournament is they also put junior fighting on stage. So we got to see some really cool things. A fight that I loved, and we've shouted him out plenty of times, Colin O'Brien versus Jake Muick. This was an awesome fight, dude. Colin was fighting his butt off, training. This guy won many of his forms of weapons divisions and then won his fighting division over Jake from JPM and Team United. That fight was just killer. So congrats to those guys.
I'm gonna say this because I saw this. Because you know what's funny is because I know Colin. So it's kind of funny when you see like a homie of yours, like a teammate, someone that you train with, right? It's kind of funny. I just called Colin a homie when I trained him when he was like, I don't know, 7, 8, you know. But and you see him, and you see someone perform, and you're like, dude, you don't fight like that when we train. How come you fight there like that? You don't fight here like that, you know?
Right.
Didn't you have you ever had something like that?
Yeah, yeah. No,
How'd you
I
fight
have
like
that. Yeah. We all have those students that are like that. Then we have ones that are the opposite that train so much. They're the best in the
that? I'm
dojo,
gonna
and then
talk
they get
about
there
one
like,
of those
"Oh,
guys.
man."
I'm
But
talking about one of those guys today.
oh, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to get back up there. All right. So we got lots I mean, there's so many things. One person who killed it this weekend that we need to talk about. Let's see, because I
You want me
can't
to say
scroll
it? You
that
want
much. But Zach, bro. Zach
Zach
Winder.
Winder?
Congrats, to
Zach
you, bro.
Winder?
This division in a big division too, man. And then defeating, the guy who we say
Best.
is that next one who is in that driver's seat to become maybe the best in the near future. He beat
You know, I was
Tyson
chatting,
Ray
I was
for
chatting
the
with Jesse
overall
about that division, just about
for
that
the light
division.
weight round. Yeah.
And I said, you know what? And as we're watching the lightweights line up, and I said, I think this is the most talented division in the world. And he goes,
Yeah.
you mean the lightweight division? I said, yeah, just as a whole. And I'm looking at the talent in that division. And he goes, as far as all the talent, I think you're right. I think it's the most talented division in the world. Right. And Zach is one of those guys that he gets there and he'll be highlight reeling guys, right? Like,
Mhm.
don't dare fight with your right side and come in with a soft slide. You're going to get spun on so hard, you will never see that thing coming and it will knock you out, right? So
Right.
he's so talented. And then it might happen where he fights Enrique, or he fights like Tyson, or he fights like Tyreek, or somebody where you're like, oh man, you had a heck of a fight. What the heck happened?
Right.
Or Kevin Walker. I remember he had a good fight with him once, and it was like, man, you were right there. Didn't happen this time. Not this time. He beat the lightweight guy. He beat Tyson, and then won that division. And you're like, yes. And I started thinking, I'm like, can he Cinderella story this thing? Can he do that? Because there's some times where it's like you can never quite out of that division, but then it's like once you do, it's like, wait, was it just that division that was my ceiling, and now I have none? I thought that in the back of my head. I'm like, hey, this guy's got the talent that he could totally do. I
And
honestly,
honestly,
to my head, I could see that happening.
yeah. So to me, I'm just, I mean, big ups him because I feel like I saw him 2 weeks ago at Ozarks, right?
Yeah.
And I saw him make a huge adjustment. And I was just excited to see him in DC after that, right? Saying, okay, because a lot of times with Zach, he'll go to a tournament and then we won't see him again for a while, right? But he's making a point to go and then go again and get those multiples in. So was great to see that growth. And so congrats to him. And then
There's
on the other side of that, on the heavy side of that, Darren won the overall for the heavy side. So congrats to him, as we haven't seen him do that in a while, right? So excited to see that.
and both of them are very, very talented fighters. And there's
Right.
some things that I look at, like when Zach does things that are very simple, and he does them at like a crazy elite level, just like a slide side kick to the body, right? You think like, all right, he does it sometimes like he's drilling it and hitting a pad like it's a contest, right? Like, I'm gonna go faster. Like it's like if you were like talking to your students and you're like, all right, guys, it's a race between everybody here. Let's see who can go there faster. And that's the fastest one they're ever gonna do in their life.
Right.
I feel like sometimes Zach says that to himself. He's like, all right, this time it's a race, right? And he just goes because it's like, how do a human person do that? Now, Darren, on the other hand, all right, Darren is like a physical specimen. Like, he's extremely long, right? And I've been saying this for a while, man. That left side with that length and that kicking, that is something real. Some people say, like, doesn't mean anything. It means something. It means something if it's working, and it's working. So big ups to Darren
Yeah.
Payne. Way to go.
Big ups-
Congratulations.
Big ups to those guys. Big ups to Lily Rouliard for making to the finals. Big ups to Katana Everett for winning the finals. That was a great fight. And big ups to JPM for winning the women's teams. You know, and you know, I'm excited to bring on Peyton Wednesday to really just talk about that inside more of all those fights. And she was right there watching up front row as well. So what's the thing? Oh, all right. Yeah, we're getting a lot of comments, man, talking about just moving and things. So, but Obey is pretty much talking about he was waiting for the judges to move, and it was, and I actually noticed it on a lot of the other side. Either it was the women's or the junior fighting. That was actually what I was going to talk about. Was that this tournament does a good job at featuring junior fighters on stage. So big ups to them for that. But I did notice that like all the judges were on one side, almost like in a line by each other, instead of moving around and circling. Now on that
do
one,
you think that
all of
was
them were on the open side. All of them were on the open side on that one side, right? Now the next fight, it was the opposite, and all of them were on. It was the closed side to them was the open side, but let's see, both fighters were left side, and I'm sorry, not left side, but it was open side for them. But all the judges were still on their backside, right? So I didn't get it. I really thought that it just needed, you know, why not have the judges center, corner? I don't know, you know, and move more. There just wasn't enough moving going on certain ones. So I think that just needs to improve. Hopefully that's something that's brought up about, especially since we've gotten rid of 5 judges, right? Even in the finals, we've gotten rid of 5 judges. So if we're getting rid of 5 judges, then you got to move. You can't stand. So
I'm okay, and I'm okay with if 5 judges in fighting doesn't happen again, I'm all right with that. If the 3 that we got, you look at and you go, can't argue about them. You know what I mean? Right. And so and you know, Obeda's my homie, so I love that he's chiming in. I think people should really utilize his skill set as a referee.
Yeah.
People should really utilize Obeda Mawali and Jeremy Roque. I just don't get it, right? As a tournament, just pay the guys. Just have them come out. If all it took was just be like, hey, I'll just have the both of you come out. Okay. I got blocks of rooms. I'll give you guys a room. Just tell me what your flight is. I'll take care of it. Let's
that makes sense.
Yeah, let's
but they're not going to come to 12 tournaments. They're not going to come to all 12 tournaments. So it's not realistic to say that we have to have these guys. There's other, I mean, listen, I love Obeda and I love Jeremy. But there's other great sparring judges out there besides just them, right?
Here's where I'm going. If you have those guys and we realize that they have a skill set, they have a talent with that. Well, they're not doing nothing with that talent, right? They're harboring other people. So now if they come out and now they set the culture for what that's supposed to be, now they can kind of bring some people. Now they can kind of help educate, because apparently now we're doing the trainings at the tournaments. So definitely, why wouldn't you have them there? Right. So now you can help them help everybody else. I'm all about just acquiring the best talent for what it is that you need.
Right. All right. We got to get into this. So you got to shut up a little bit. All right. Listen, it needs to be talked about. We've talked about it for a while. I think a lot of us we had that string of events of Ocean State, Quebec, and the battle that all went back to or superseded pre-COVID prize money, right? And so we're like, okay, this is the trend, and now we're not going to deal with COVID prize money anymore. U.S. Open, COVID prize money. This tournament, COVID prize money. But what was killer to me was that there was not any runner-up money. There was down to 500, but they had the money to add junior grands money and runner-up money. So runner-ups in juniors, and listen, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if you got to kind of do what you were supposed to do first before you add anything else, right? And if you're going to give runner-ups money in juniors, how are you going to not give runner-ups in the adult? or even other divisions. You know what I mean? Like it was just kind of weird to me.
Well, here's another thing to think about, though, as we're talking about pre-COVID prize money versus COVID prize money. It's not like
They did have runner-up money though, Drew. They had runner-up money at Ocean State, Quebec, and Battle of Atlanta. So those 3 tournaments did have that. But now you're not going to have it for adults, but you're going to have it for juniors. That was just a weird thing to me. Sorry, but
no, I agree with you, man. But let's do this. Let's all let me take you in my DeLorean time machine. All right, we're not going to 1984. We're going to go back to 2018.
Yes, they did, Drew.
Was the prize money that stellar in 2018, 2019? Were we blown away? Did we think that was enough then? Did we think it was fair then?
No, you're right.
So if it wasn't fair then, and we're asking for not fair, let's just put that into perspective. It's not fair now, but what people are asking for is still not fair. What are we talking about?
Right.
You see what I mean? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's wild. And yes, Drew, there's been money. I got money for runner up at Ocean State. They got money at the battle, I believe at Quebec, same thing. And also the prize went up. And they also got like there was the individual grands money as well for fighting, which there was not at this tournament. So, and yeah, all 3 of them gave runner up. So it's, again, I kind of saw it coming because the prize money was not posted until like the Wednesday before the tournament. And so that's something that has to get better, man. That can't happen, you know?
I want to take you back in this DeLorean time machine that I have. All right, let's go back again.
And congrats, Bailey! 11 fights this weekend. That's pretty sick. He won all the fights. Yeah,
that's good. Let's go back. We're gonna go back a couple times. Let's go back to like 1999, 2000, where
he got more than 500 for winning because he won the overall. Obeda, he was just asking. So 500 for winning that. He probably got more than that. But because he won 500 for the lightweight overall, and then he got 500 for I guess open weight was 500, and then the 500 extra that VFT gives on for the last man standing, and then team fight. I don't know how much team fight was. So there was a lot on that. But it was cool to see juniors get something. But at the same time, you gotta figure it out, man. I don't know.
So
I know we all go ahead.
When we go back to that time frame, like 99, 2000, late 90s, we were paying division winners. You were getting $100 per division when you won. All right. That is a thing of the past. That's a pipe dream right now. Hey, no way that's happening. All right. So let's not go back that far. Let's go to 2004. And there's a specific reason why I'm going to mention this. Because what happened in 2004? We started the super fights thing. The super fights, which basically started from the Rolex challenge that Charlie Lee started, which was actually a fantastic idea. No prize, no money. All right. Here's an item that's just synonymous with class, wealth, and prize. It's a real prize, right? Your fighters, prize fighter. Here's your prize. It's fantastic. Okay. And it's a lot of money for Rolex, even if you get it on a deal, right? So anyway, because of it, Charlie Lee kind of put these rules. It's essentially like full contact point fighting, right? It's kind of what they wanted it to be, but don't really knock them out. But if you do, we'll look the other way kind of thing. So Jerry Fontenez talked about it, and he goes, well, how much money are they paying for that? They're paying $3,000. The winner of that. But what's the point tournament win? The point tournament guy wins. He wins $1,000. We're like, wait a minute. This is just some other division. Why is that guy getting 3 times the amount where this guy has to do way more?
Right.
Because we had one winner then, all right? He has to do way more to win a third of what this guy has to do. Right. And why do we even want this division to begin with? And the reasoning was because that's the kind of fighting we want to see. That's the kind of fighting we want. So at the time, Jerry goes, well, why don't you just change the judging and the rules take all that money, throw it at the division and say, here, this is
how they
now
want
your
it.
prize. You don't
Right.
get 1,000, you get 4,000, and this is what we want you to fight like. Now you'll have the fighting that you want, and the fighters will have the prize that they want. And he says, don't
Right.
give the runner-up, just get winner takes all. And he might have been
Yeah.
right. I was
Well,
not a fan.
well,
I was not a
yeah.
fan of the officiating for super fights. I really was not, right? But his mindset, I agree with 100%.
Right. Well, here's the deal with that. I think there is something with the winner get all thing, but I also think if we want more people to do this, more people
I
need
agree
to,
with
not more winners. Not saying more grand champions. No, I'm just
that. I
saying,
think that's where I was
you
going
know,
with that.
yeah, first, second, third. There's got to be money spread out, and that's where a lot of these we see it a lot of times with regional tournaments that want to give this big prize, and they wonder why they only had 5 fighters show up. They just, it's just the way it is. But if you spread that money out to the top 8 or whatever, and still
Everybody,
have a big prize
you
that
got
was
an
bigger
opportunity. You
than
got a chance.
yeah, exactly. So, and you feel appreciated for what you did, I mean? Because again, you have some people that won. Let's go back at Tyson at AKA. He wins all these fights, wins his grand, wins this, and then gets nothing. So,
Nothing.
I
I
mean,
can't believe
yeah, nothing. So,
all of that.
yeah, there's
How
a lot of that, right?
How do you?
One,
Let's go back to what we just said. How do you win the most talented division in the world?
Right.
You go up there, you're fighting in the finals, and you walk out of there with not an empty pocketbook, because it could cost you money to be there and do all that. So you walk out in debt. How is this real? It's not. It's not right. That's what I said. Let's go back on that DeLorean. Let's go back to pre-COVID. Was it fair then? No. So what are we talking about?
Right.
All right.
That's true.
We're beating a dead horse.
Last thing I want to shout out, because Ben Jones, man, awesome job winning the traditional weapons grand, winning the CMX weapons grand, and then winning I believe they won a team division as well. So awesome job to him. He's just getting better and better and just looking more confident and just not messing up. It's just so in the zone. And it's cool to see him just take it to that next level, man. He's such a good guy as well.
Dang it, Beta took my words. I was literally going to say that.
Yeah,
Ben Jones is that dude. That's what I was literally going to say. Stealing my words.
And yeah, so Karate Phil, who's Phil Baruti, comment a lot of stuff, and he's been around for years as well. No spectators. We got to get more spectators in the finals. The finals need to trim down though. And yeah, he's worked really hard for this. What's Kevin saying? Yeah, I agree. And I kind of think, well, I just listen.
I think he might be
going to do that. Then we all need to really try to support each other. And that's, that is one of the hard things, but when the competitors go out and try to have an event, you can tell when competitors are putting on tournaments because focused on competitors.
He might be talking about a tournament, or he might be talking, and we did this at one point. This is a real thing. So Kevin was talking about that we can host our own tournament. So we got
like 1 minute. So let's go.
So I consulted BJ Carnahan, which maybe wouldn't have been the best consigliere, but whatever. So I said, listen, man, what if we did this? What if we get a bunch of fighters in? We do a random draw, and then we start betting on who's going to win. And we did that. We started betting. It was like a freaking cockfight, but we were the ones, right?
Now it's funny because I've done that at local tournaments as well, in forums and fighting. So yeah, we've done all that as well. It's like, all right, if I beat you here, we're getting this, and yeah.
Okay, we gotta go. This has been fantastic.
Right, Kevin saying he wasn't saying that.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Dawes. See you guys next week with Manny Reyes Jr. Part 2, and join us Wednesday for Peyton's episode.